estate agent that you'd like to deal with, who's competent. Get them to perhaps give you a hand, because it's like a day's work in a day's work for us, and
right.
we don't want you too worried about it. So if we can help, by all means.
Oh, that's good to know.
Thanks, Susan.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, bye now.
Anthony, something else that's probably worth remembering, Susan's gone now, but you can also check on deposit and settlement details in the lead up to the auction as well, because often nowadays we're finding people are wanting to sell property in between having bought and settling on the new one.
Yes.
So perhaps variations need to be checked off before the auction as well.
Another important fact to remember is that the finance details now, a normal auction's 30-day settlement, and since the global financial crisis, it's taking all of that time to get the finance approval. So although you're buying unconditionally, pretty much everyone that goes to auction is subject to finance. Well, it's not subject to finance, they need to get finance. So check with your bank, because if you need extra time for them to be able to prove it and settle it after you've purchased, that cash contract that is, then make sure you ask for an extended period for your settlement, so you're not embarrassed on the day of settlement and not being able to settle.
Another one for you as well, insurance, we didn't mention.
So you take an equity in the property from the fall of the hammer, so get that insurance underway immediately. Now, we've just got the second part to this. Right,
okay.
So very quickly, how long should I expect to wait after submitting an offer on a property to know that I'm successful or not?
Once again, that's the sort of thing, if you've got a local vendor, I would be expecting, and I certainly would like to think that we would be able to give answers on offers made on our own properties back within about 24 hours. But it's important, I guess, once again, for the purchaser to understand what the ground rules are in terms of their dealing with that particular agent. But 24 hours is a pretty reasonable time, I would have thought.
Yeah, the variation of that will be if it's complicated and there's more than one offeree. So there is a process, but certainly as soon as possible.
Another phone call.
Steve, is it? Hello.
Yes, it is. How are you going?
Hi, Steve.
Good.
What's your question, Steve?
Right, I've been in a unit for about 5 months now, and I had my first inspection the other day, and I've actually got a dog since I've moved in, and they told me I've got to get rid of it.
Rightio. That's an exciting time.
Yeah.
Is it a puppy?
No, it's Shih Tzu.
Oh, right. I was going to say my wife would take it if it was no, look, on a serious note, that could be a problem. Is it a strata titled unit, or is it what sort of unit
Yes,
is
it is. It's in a block of about 6, and the neighbour's got a dog, so that's why I thought it probably would have been all right.
Okay, well, two things there. Firstly, with the strata corporate body, they could preclude it, which means it takes it outside the authority of the owner of the property. But let's assume, given that there is a dog next door, that the strata body is okay with pets. That's the first big obstacle.
Yep.
The second one is that if the owner's not aware of it, and the agent's a bit unhappy about you having a dog, which is pretty common if you've got a surprise pet, the only thing you can do is to sit down with the agent and through them negotiate, if you can, with the owner of the property, the landlord of the property, and see if you can get them to approve the dog. Otherwise, I'm sorry, but either you go or hang on, you and the dog go, or the dog goes. However, just a tip, with regard to your dog, before you go to the agent, I would strongly recommend that you get some people who know your dog, and hopefully people maybe with a bit of profile or some position, to give you letters of testimonials, if you like, that the dog is not going to destroy the home, because at the end of the day, that's the primary concern of the owner of the property, that your little puppy dog is not going to rip that house apart.
So a Poochie CV.
Yeah, exactly right.
And another one for you, Steve, when you're making that application, it might even be worth throwing in the offer of a bond for the pet. So you're actually offering a little bit more money to be put away in case there is some extra damage done, and that gives the owner perhaps a little bit more peace of mind to say, well, look, we're comfortable with that, and if there is damage, it's covered anyway.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Fantastic.
Thanks for your call.
Thanks very much for your advice.
Okay,
Cheers.
all the best.
Right, bye.
Now, another email, Tim, this was from this morning. If I purchase a house which is being rented out, am I allowed to break this lease?
Of course you are, but there are always penalties.
Oh, right. No, come on, serious note.
So,
From Angus at Hazelwood Park.
well, this is particularly pertinent at the moment with the first home buyers having been jumping into the market and coming out of rental properties. And my feeling there is that naturally you're allowed to break a lease, but quite seriously, there are penalties. There's a formula which calculates the loss incurred by the landlord, the owner, and the expectation is that until you have a new tenant to take over the lease, that you're liable in some way for the balance of that outstanding money. And you know, quite obviously you're allowed to move on and do your own thing, but the landlord needs to be protected in that instance as well.